All right, it's our final segment this morning. Davidson County Sheriff Darren Hall. If you want to join in the conversation, give us a call, 737-7587. And, you know, before I give blood, I sometimes do push-ups to make my veins bulge. He's going to give blood at the Battle of the Badges over at Nissan Stadium right after this, and you can too. Big fundraiser for the Red Cross and a lot of neat stuff going on around it. If you want to go and have the distraction so you don't think about the needle, go check it out.
Yeah, we got a lot of the Titans players, cheerleaders,
yeah.
a lot of the folks there. It should be a big crowd, and I saw some pictures on the way over early this morning. There's already folks lined up to go, and it'll be quick, 20 minutes in and out. You can give it to any of the public safety entities, police, fire, or the sheriff's office.
Of your
donation of your blood.
Yep.
They'll record it that way. Have a big competition, and we try to beat last year's record every year, and we're on track to do that.
That's awesome. All right, let's get back to the phone lines. We got Brian. Hi, Brian.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Reverend Fuzz, is that his real name, or is that a nickname?
It's Reverend Enoch Fuzz. That's his name. That's his name.
Oh, okay. So I don't know. It's kind of funny. That used to be. He's old enough to know that used to be slang. You know, for police.
Yeah.
Sometimes it used to be. You know, I just thought that.
No, totally separate.
What's that?
They're totally separate. Yeah, it's not that.
Yeah. You know, I agree with a lot that he says, and you know, it's hard enough just being a human being in this world, whether, you know, black, white, you know, brown, you know. I mean, you know, I don't understand why we all just can't get along. I mean, I try to get along with most everybody I meet and stuff, and it's just, I think this stuff's got way blown out of proportion. I think people are tired of it. I don't even like talking about it, like with my boss or people I work with or friends, people I come in contact with at the store, they'll start talking about it. I just kind of tried to change the subject. I don't know if that's...
It's tough because, I mean, you can't ignore, you know, 3 officers being murdered, and then you can't ignore 5 officers being murdered, and then more. You just can't ignore it. And as far as people getting along, you run a jail, and you have a building. Well, now you have out at Harding just hundreds of inmates.
Right.
People just don't always get along.
Yeah, it's, you know, and he's right. The simple life would be nice. You know, the life of almost Andy Griffith, if you will, in our world. It would
but
be
not
nice.
in Nashville. This is a big city.
We're in a different. But I kind of, as it relates to Brian, I actually think the other idea is a little better. I think we should talk about it. Yeah. Now, I'm not suggesting it's like politics or religion. I'm not saying we can ever win, but I do think part of what's missing is kind of the conversation, and you have to be willing to wear the other person's shoes. You have to be willing to hear another version of it. I mean, one of my beliefs is that the country is a mess because we live in a parallel universe. I don't have to tell you what channels these are, but if you want to go home and hear that President Obama is evil, I can tell you what network to watch. Mm-hmm. If you want to go believe he is always doing, you know, let's say what is the appropriate thing, I can tell you there's another channel to watch. And my point is that if you, and most people do this, they drift to what they want to hear, and so therefore that's all they're getting is that line of information. I make it a practice. I watch every network and national news. I do not want to be, and I want to know what the other side's thinking of what, you know, I want to know what the team I'm playing against is thinking in the sport. You know, and in this world I want to know what the people I disagree with think, so maybe I can understand and appreciate where we are. I think we're too simple today, where people get more support for their own position by listening and watching what they want to listen and watch. So what do? You have a Twitter account. What do? You only follow the people who you want to hear from, and the people who support the way you feel. So ultimately, we're in a parallel universe, and we're not forcing each other to have the other appreciation. And I'm afraid that if we don't get some dialogue, and I'm talking about nationally, and we just keep watching the one network or the one thing we want, or one Twitter account, I'm afraid we just never really appreciate the other person's shoes, and we never get some of the problem solved.
Yeah. Talking can't hurt. Let's go to Sally. Hi, Sally. Are you there, Sally? Guess we'll come back to her. A couple other things I wanted to touch bases with you on. I guess I saw where it was kind of unique. You actually lowered the cost of phone calls for the inmates, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, we've been working on that for several months, really. Yeah, the deal is this, that a person who goes to jail, historically, if you go to jail, you know this, but you call me, then the person receiving the call, the old collect call, as we used to call it. Right. My son wouldn't know what a collect call is, probably, because that's not even a term you use. But truthfully, the person who's receiving the call is paying the bill for the person who's incarcerated.
Yep.
And over the years, many things have changed. I mean, we in the society and technology, but the cost of the inmate phone call system has gone up and up and up, and for various reasons. But quite frankly, governments like Nashville and others have seen to the commission off of those phone calls really became something that a city like Nashville would benefit from. And I just have a philosophical problem with that. I don't believe that's really the role of the government. We should pay for the service. Me and you are talking to each other on the phone. The cost of doing it should pay for the business of using the call. But I do not think the city should be profiting from that. And last year, the city of Nashville generated about $1.7 million on top of what it costs to run the phone system for the government and for the revenue for the city. I just don't believe that's the right way to do it. There are a lot of places around the country where sheriff's offices have used that money to do other things with it, buy equipment, buy things. I guess you can argue that's an okay thing, but you're doing that on the most vulnerable person. I mean, the mother of the person who's incarcerated is already going through enough, and I don't personally believe that you should cost the process of communication to the point of generating revenue off of it. I just don't believe that. I think you should pay for the cost of it, but don't make money off of it in lieu of some other, especially off of who are more vulnerable citizens. Yeah. Keep in mind, the majority of people in jails are innocent. They've not been found guilty of anything.
At this point, they're awaiting trial.
Right, so you're making them pay more than you and I pay.
Would you imagine a lot of other sheriff's departments right now are doing that, making the money, on it?
Sure. Vast majority.
Where did that come to your attention? I mean, we're going to get to Sally, but what made you think about that?
It's been going on for, and by the way,
where did you come? Yeah. What was the genesis? You just say I'm going to make the change.
FCC has been looking into this nationally and trying to make some regulations at the federal level, and they're on track. It's probably eventually one day they will
you're
make
just being more proactive.
Right.
Well, you just think it's the right thing to do.
Right. And we as a government, and we should not be profiting off of such a thing. I'm all for. We charge our inmates for the items that we give them. We want them to pay for the cost of what we're giving. We don't make a profit on that. The government shouldn't be in the business of making profit off of that situation. Pay for the service, pay for what we are giving them, but you do not pay, in my mind, on top of that, to me, at the expense of the families.
Makes sense.
It's not the right thing.
Makes sense. Let's go to back. Sally, are you there, Sally?
Yes.
Hey, go ahead, Sally.
First of all, these racist white cops should be rooted out of the police department. And second, if you root out these people, the black guys wouldn't be killing enough police. The white racists are the one that's inviting all of this. The guy that was here, the police, was fired, said he would put 5 in him. That's racist.
Oh yeah, that was one of the officers that was. I don't know if he was fired. I think he's on paid administrative leave for making a comment on Facebook with Metro PD about I would have put 5 into him or something like that. If you had a way to detect and know who is a racist cop or a bad cop before they commit a crime or do something that's inappropriate, that'd be great.
Yeah,
I just don't know how you know.
White or black racist.
Yeah, exactly. White or black, or if we're not even talking about race issues, someone that's maybe just crooked. I mean, there's just sometimes you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, this officer, I don't know him. I know very little, but he deserves due process as well. I mean, I have no idea other than what I've heard on the media about what he is alleged to have done, but let's let that work itself out. I mean, we've learned in places like Baltimore and others that what starts out to be the situation, in the end, not because of racism, in the end, because of the system determined that the facts weren't what we sometimes hear. Most of the time, as in some of the videos that we've seen lately, it seems very clear to me we've got police officers acting inappropriately, in my mind, in some of the more recent shootings, and I think that needs to be dealt with. What people always need to remember is there are 2 types of actions. One's a criminal action against the shooting of an individual. The other one's a civil action. In virtually every case that you've heard about in the last 5 years, every case, the families have received millions upon millions of dollars because there was a civil violation of someone's right. That bar to prove that is different than the criminal bar.
Sure.
Because an officer who is sworn to protect and uphold and all these things, it is a pretty tough level to reach to criminally charge him. I'm for doing that if you can prove it and do it. But let's not forget that they're at Garner, I believe, in New York, I believe the Ferguson and others, the families receive substantial amounts of money, as they should, in a civil action. But it is a very tough bar to reach in a criminal action when you're empowering someone as a police officer, and the line between use of force becomes deadly. And I just think it's a very tough line. Doesn't mean they're not racist, as she mentions. I don't believe they're all racist, but there are such a thing. And that needs to be dealt with. But I also want to keep in mind that the police officer's role in a government function most of the time results in significant financial rewards to families, millions upon millions of dollars. And that's usually after the rioting and everything settles down, there's a lot of money that's rewarded and awarded to the family because it should be if they were justified. But it doesn't always mean the criminal level is going to be reached. We have this in our system. We get sued all the time. And sometimes we're responsible and we need to go settle that or deal with that. And sometimes we're not. But the criminal threshold to prove that a police officer was criminally responsible is a pretty tough line to reach. Doesn't mean they didn't violate the policy, doesn't mean that it was a tragedy, and doesn't mean that they're all racist. But it means that we need to let that process take its course, and clearly the civil process.
I totally agree. Listen, we're going to let you go maybe 30 seconds early because you can meet him over there at Nissan if you'd like. As I said, my recommendation is do a few push-ups before and then get that vein up there. And if you're giving plasma, I don't know, I've never given plasma. I hear they take it out, they spin the plasma, and they put your blood back in. It feels kind of cool when it goes back in.
I'll let you know.
Anyway, it's Battle of the Badges over there, a great cause to raise blood for the Red Cross, and it's both the Metro PD, Sheriff's Department, and then you can go over there. And as he said, cheerleaders, football players, lots of giveaways, things like that. Try to get you to go out. So if you get a chance, make your way over there.
Come see us.
Sheriff, it's good to see you.
You
It's always a
as well.
pleasure. Take a break. Be back with the programming note about tomorrow right after this. Stay with us.